for a solution like ours. It's about just executing it carefully and not be premature with our growth.
And concerning the vouchers that you create that the merchants would then have access to restock or use for whatever use, how are you securing your partners on that end?
Well, the current voucher system we're using is Standard Banks, and we're exploring some others. And we're not reinventing the wheel. So what we're doing is we're building a user experience that connects the dots of a payment. We're not here to compete with these partners, and it's almost like a passive competitor with some of them. But we're also bringing them on the journey. So when we're doing well, they're doing well, and that's allowed us to penetrate the market quite quickly.
Costa, thank you so much for the fintech offering that you're bringing. I absolutely love the fact that we are sticking to solutions for the continent, for South Africa, for this market. One such case is that you would use an SMS as opposed to trying to bring a data solution as part of the package. I think that is absolutely brilliant. Continue to do the amazing work you're doing, and we cannot wait to chat to you again.
Sheila, thank you very much for bringing us on air.
That is the voice of the founder and CEO of Street Wallet, a fintech innovation bridging the gap between cash-dependent vendors and the fast-moving digital economy. Costa Scoliadis joining us on the line this evening. We're going to get some music, and if you are a vendor and perhaps are thinking to yourself, hey, maybe this is a solution I could use. I'm selling X at corner Y, and I notice that people don't stop because they don't have physical money. Maybe, just maybe, this is a solution for you.
Heartlines, 10 p.m. to midnight Central African Time with Sheila Ndikumana.
Sangue Verona, ele sangue, ele doce. Sangue Verona, Sangue Verona, Sangue Verona, ele sangue, ele doce. Se vou cochar lá na fundiladeira, bota culpa aí que fazes coladeira. Se vou cochar lá na fundiladeira, bota culpa aí que fazes coladeira. Sangue Verona, Sangue Verona, Sangue Verona, ele sangue, ele doce. Sangue Verona, Sangue Verona, Sangue Verona, ele sangue, ele doce.
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future.
Yeah. This one I gotta do with the jabba. Me, I no get time, I did that, Dada cover my face, calling me that, Biggie man, we know they wear abada. Tell me, my nigga, what's it gon' G-Wagon, all depend. The girl them, ride the boat, I no fit, die for nothing. My nigga, what's it gon' be? G-Wagon, all depend. The girl them, ride the boat, I no fit, die for nothing. Make you no say anything when you do, they must commend it. I can't come and keep myself. So anything when they do, I they try to get to on my way. I can't come and keep myself. Plenty so far we face. Just to make sure money day. But my people then go say I know one buy, I know one die, I know one payment. I want enjoy, I want job life, I want buy motor, I want build house, I still want to know. Tell me, my nigga, what's it gon' G-Wagon, all the Bentley, the girl them, ride the whip, I no fit, die for nothing. My nigga, what's it gon' be? G-Wagon, all the Bentley, the girl them, ride the with me, I no fit. Different things them happening, schemes and packaging. In a one night for shows, I'm juggling. Flow like the ocean, my boat, I'm paddling. Sharashina Bella, that's my bro, my family.
Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Your heart drenched and scorched by the fire and the rain. I know that you're feeling something, but you're not ready to say. I'm just happy to see your bright eyes shining again. You show you care with what you do. I know I'm meant to be here for you. In this moment I know what's true. I can't wait to see you. To see you. So
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift.
Central African Time. Jacaranda is the name of the song. Karianda Soul and Msaki. Before that, Burna Boy coming in with Yeah. And kick-starting off the triple play, Cesaria Vora, the queen of Morna music. And that one titled Sange di Biriona. It's time for me to let you know what comes up in the next hour. Looking forward to this conversation. Listen, if you wanted to put out a book, you're saying, I have knowledge, I have a story, I have perhaps acquired information that I feel and I believe needs to be put into a book that will benefit not just myself, of course, the person who's relaying the information and has used this information, but also those around me, those who are going through situation X, so those who are looking to conquer situation Y. This will benefit them. Well, if you're looking to take that journey, we're going to be speaking about publishing books in the next hour. And we're going to have a twofold conversation. The very first conversation, we're going to be speaking to award-winning author, teacher, and visionary of CAM Publishers. This is Kabelo Mabona. And then in the second part, I have a treat for you. And I say a treat because we're going to be speaking to one of our very own. She's put out a book not too long ago from now. And so we're going to be finding out from her experientially how she pieced this body of work together. That comes up in the hour that lies ahead, 8 minutes before that hour. So you're more than welcome to prepare yourself, firstly, to send through your questions, but also to sit down, relax, and enjoy Heartlines with Sheila Ndikumana. If you're looking for us on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, now known as X, at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa Radio, and lastly that WhatsApp number +27 63 406 9126.
Heartlines. Your late night window into Africa's deep conversations.
Kotaka, atikona neta Kona netanga Mashakanga Zichomi tanga Ndikotaka Katikona netanga Mashakanga Zichomi tanga Ndikotaka Raswino
And every triumph, not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. Heartlines, 10 p.m. to midnight, Central African Time, with Sheila Ndikumana.
When a good girl gone bad, what you gonna do? Run, go meet a dad. You don't wanna do. Well, this is Southeast Hall, but the ranking what best? Yeah, watch this. Love confession. Why she's a heartbreaker. She bend over backbreaker. Steaming hot water vapor. I wanna date her. She's a heartbreaker. She bend over backbreaker. Steaming hot water vapor. I wanna date her. So tell me why you do me so. So tell me why you do me so. Baby, me not gonna let you go. Girl, me not gonna let you go. So tell me why you do me so. Tell me why you do me so. Charlie, me not gonna let you go. Tell me not gonna let you go. Me spend all me money, spend all me cash. Call you me honey, but you threw me pon trash. And you think say me gon' leave you like that? No way. Why you do me like that, yeah?
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it.
Central African time. Sauti Soul has me screaming at the top of my lungs. This one titled Melanin alongside Pata Ranking. Before that, we had a song, one of my favorites. In actual fact, I am of the belief that our technical operator is just in tune with my music kind, okay? That beautiful number coming through, that one coming through with Murder, Bucks, African Roots, that one titled Takara, and Black Motion leading the pack. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. This is Heartlines, Sheila Ndikumana keeping you company, and I'm with you all the way through to midnight in Central African time. I told you that in this hour we're going to be talking literature. And with respect to literature, not just the books that we read, but the process of putting that book out. Now, the publishing world is no longer limited to those with connections and contracts. No. Today, self-publishing is not only a tool of independence, it's a declaration of agency, especially for African writers reclaiming their narratives and reaching audiences directly. At the forefront of this movement stands Kabelo Mabona, an award-winning author, educator, and the founder of Camp Publishers. His books don't just fill shelves, they shift perspectives. Titles such as Wisdom is Crying Out, Your Hardships is Not in vain, and Forgiveness is a Journey offers readers a deeply rooted truth, resilience, and spiritual nourishment. But beyond the writing, Kabelo is building something bigger, a platform, a voice, a publishing house that dares to believe that local stories matter and must be heard. Today, we unpack the work, the wins, and the weight of self-publishing in South Africa with a man whose work doesn't just tell stories, but it helps others write their own as well. Joining us on the line, Kabelo Mabona, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Heartlines.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
Kabelo, you have published several transformational books. How do you measure the impact of your books beyond sales and social media's buzz?
I often say to people that it's not about how much you can write, but how much impact what you write can make. For instance, if you can see one book can change one man's life, you know that with that one man's life changing, the other is going to be changed as well. And with one also changing another, the other is going to change the other as well. So how do I measure the impact of my books without the sales? It's about the change around those people that read the books.
Sure. And what are some of those changes that you've seen personally? I can imagine that on a larger scale, like perhaps across the continent, one couldn't truly measure. But around your network, what changes have you seen?
The language is different. I remember there was this other time I met this one guy, and he said to me, man, before I read the books, I used to look down on myself. But now the way I speak to myself, it's different. I tend to speak life into my dreams. I tend to speak direction into my goals. Like the language has changed. I'm very careful and I take care of the words that I speak. Whatever I say, I'm very mindful of it. I know because it was through your books that language create the world that we live in. Language create the feelings that we feel. It brings things into existence. And through that, I knew that if the language changes, we know that the impact is there.
Kabelo, books titled You Are, or rather Who You Are Not to Be, and I Almost Drowned are deeply personal. How do you balance being vulnerable, of course, alongside being responsible with your own vulnerability in the public eye?
I think sometimes the best thing that you can do is don't filter. Show people that you are also human. People should perceive you as a person who's vulnerable like they are. And I think that's how we get to connect with people, knowing that we are humans, we are all the same. And how do I get to balance between being vulnerable and also being professional? Is that I remember this other time one of my mentors said to me that, my boy, if you think where you are is the best, you can never grow above the best. At that moment, I couldn't understand what he meant. And now that you're asking me this question, how do I balance between being vulnerable and being professional? Honestly, it's allow yourself to be human and allow yourself to grow every single day. The more you get to grow, the more you get to balance, because being vulnerable, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're allowing yourself to grow above the pain that you are going through. It means you allow yourself to grow above that vulnerability, but in a way that doesn't expose you as a vulnerable person, but yet you are vulnerable.
Kabelo, that sounds like a lot of work.
And it's not.
No, you said quite a bit. Also, I do believe that we are on loudspeaker, or you are having the device against a surface. There's a bit of an echo. that's coming in. If you can just
okay.
assist us with
Okay.
that. But yes, I was saying
Okay.
that it sounds like a lot. You're saying that I must be vulnerable, but not be, but know that I'm. Wait. Okay, let's walk through the step-by-step motion of piecing together a body of work that is a book, right? I think when we think of
Yes.
publishing a book, I mean, I just want to put my thoughts down on paper. That's the reality. I want to do what you
Yes.
just said, be human, put your thoughts down. But there's so much more that goes into a book outside that. Walk us through the step-by-step journey of piecing together a good read that will help not just you, but those around you and those who need it most.
Okay. There are stages to writing. Okay. The first step is the one that we're talking about, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. During that step or the process, you don't filter anything. So whatever word you feel you want to voice it out, you voice it out in a paper. Whatever you want to call me, if you want to call me Njebe, you call me Njebe, because it's the first process, the first stage is very therapeutic. That's where you get to heal. That's where you get to find yourself there.
Yeah.
And after exposing yourself vulnerable on a paper, there's going to be a second step. Now, the second step, that's where you need to separate your emotions from how you want the message to be delivered to the next person. And how do you do that? You need to put on a head that is not emotional. You need to detach yourself from your emotional being. And the last step is sending it to a professional so that the professional can help you. Because I know if you own the story, there are some things that are very emotional to an extent that the person who's going to read it, they're going to feel sorry for you instead of getting the message that you're trying to communicate to them. So the only time you can separate that, or you can filter that out, it's only if you can hire a professional. So the first step, make sure that you pour everything out. Just don't filter anything. After doing that, now you need to separate emotions from your work. Work on your manuscript as a reader, and lastly, just make sure you find yourself a professional. Never bypass an editor.
Kabelo, what if I feel as though... Oh, we have an echo. We have an echo again there, sir.
Oh, I'm not sure what could be the problem. Let me just a second.
All right. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. That being the voice of none other than Kabelo joining us. This is Kabelo Mabona, who is an award-winning author and educator and the founder of CAM Publishers. And we're looking at the journey of self-publishing and what it takes to put out a body of work. And of course, this a body of work being literature, right? More often than not, we refer to a body of work as that of music, right? So a set of songs in an album will be referred to as a body of work. But this time around, we are looking at piecing words together differently, putting them on paper, allowing people to read your expressions. And I find it really interesting that Kabelo said that the first phase of you writing a book is you being completely candid, you putting out everything, you deciding that, listen, I am not going to filter, I am not going to hide, I am going to express myself to the fullest extent. And so that is where the process begins. Can you do that? Use that word that you wanted to use. Listen, you've been trying to compromise on that word and you want to find a better way to say it. No. Initially, write it as it is. And then you go through the self-editing process where you then sieve through the emotion and sort of get the gist of the story that you're trying to tell and make sure that this permeates throughout the book. Because sometimes you get lost in the emotion, you know, you get stuck at a place and you feel like, oh, you know what, I can't move past this emotion. I feel like I need to express it more. But no. sieve through that, and then of course afford this then to an editor to help you further build your story. Kabelo is with us on the line. Kabelo, I want to go into that process of sieving through, and I want to go through this process because sometimes you feel like you don't have the English, or perhaps let's just even say the language you're trying to express yourself in. You said point one, express yourself fully, don't hold back. But then we have to go through the self-editing process, and you're feeling like I'm not really conveying, like I keep on using, let's see, absolutely in every chapter, on every page, somewhere you're going to find absolutely. Is that the work of is that work you were supposed to now begin to correct, or do you leave that to the editor to fine tune and help you better stretch the language in the book?
Okay. You must work on your manuscript until you feel it's ready and you don't need an editor. If you haven't worked on your manuscript to that extent, then your manuscript is not ready to be sent to an editor. So make sure you work on your manuscript, edit as much as you can, until you feel you don't need an editor.
And Kabelo, let's go through the point of a book. I was having a conversation with the amazing host who does the show before me, that is Tshepiso Makwetla, on Africa World Hour.
Yes.
And I was saying to her that we're going to be talking about self-publishing and just the practice of putting out literature for the world. And she had a counter argument to say that we need to protect young minds. So maybe not everything that's being published is worthy of being published. How do you qualify the story you want to tell? How do you ensure that this story is actually beneficial to the populace?
Okay. Before I can answer that one, we all have different reasons why we want to publish a book, right? And I'm gonna start with me, for instance.
Yeah.
I remember when I started writing, the goal wasn't for me to get my books out there, but the goal was to make sure I leave a legacy that will outlive me. So growing up, I wish my grandmother had left me her wisdom, at least in a piece of paper. But because that wisdom was not written anywhere down, she passed on with that wisdom. And I took it upon myself that I will never deny my kids my experiences, the knowledge and the wisdom that I gathered through trial and error, right, while living. So for me, I wanted to write books because I wanted my children not to experience my experiences. So there are people who write only just to, maybe they want to tell a story. Sometimes the story is premature. It needs more experience. It needs more trial and errors. It needs to be tested. It needs to fit, and it needs to make sure that it answers the questions that people might have. For instance, if there are people who address issues like rape, there are questions that people who have been in that situation, and because of it's a sensitive topic, or it's a sensitive issue, it's very difficult for them to communicate with others, and there will be someone out there who's gonna come to their rescue and answer those questions, provide answers their hearts were longing for. So to avoid people from publishing their books prematurely, I don't think we can stop people from publishing books prematurely. Yeah, because that's the tricky part about self-publishing. The author has all the right to do whatever they want to do with their book. If they want to publish it with 2 pages, they're going to publish that book with 2 pages. If they want to publish it with 100 pages, they want to publish it with 100 pages.
Yeah.
That's the disadvantage of self-publishing. It's only the author who has the full control.
Given that very statement, Kabelo, it's the author that has full control of what is being put out there. How can authors better curate their understanding? And I hear you saying sometimes a story is premature. Sometimes it doesn't answer all the questions that one might have on that particular subject matter. How can an author better guard themselves from telling half-told stories or incomplete or insufficient stories in that sense? Secondly, with that very statement that you made, the author is the final say. How do we then begin to sharpen the quality of books that we're putting out there? Because at the end of the day, the author is the primary focus, right? And we want the author to be best positioned to be able to write these books. I want us to just gauge the author and help them sort of navigate this terrain.
Okay. Reading is important. Before you can write any book, make sure the book that you want to write, if you want to write a book about let's say maybe about weather, make sure you read enough books about weather. Make sure the questions that you have, because you cannot write a book that's already out there. Make sure you want to fill the gap. Read as much as you can about the topic that you want to address. Read, and read. And because every subject, every topic has a loophole. Whatever you're gonna come across in whatever that you've read, you're gonna find the loopholes. Now, in those loopholes, that's where your book should come out from, by answering or dealing with those loopholes. And the second questions you were asking, how do we make sure that the author is sharpened, or the book, right? The book that they publish is sharpened.
Yeah.
That was the second question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With me is, I remember this other time. After I finished writing my book, I thought the book is complete, because at that particular moment it answered what I wanted it to answer, but not what the person who was going to receive the book. Okay. For me, it was the issue of, oh yes, I'm going to be an author, because this is my first book. I'm too excited. Now my emotions are clouding me. Oh man, I'm going to be an author, and forgetting what the goal of the book was in the first place. And I think also it's important that you get people. Before you get your book published, make sure you get people, at least 2 or 3. Man, can you please review my work? Can you assess, can you evaluate my work? Check if my work meet the goals. Check if my work, man, it does what it says. Yes, it does what it says it will fulfill. Please review and evaluate for me. I think you need to find someone who can confirm with you, double check if the book serves its purpose. If not, then go back to your drawing board. There's no rush for victory.
Kabelo, let's talk about. Oh, we have the echo again there, sir. Unfortunately, there is an echo that on that end. But let's talk about people using digital instruments like ChatGPT to write books. What's your take on that?
There's nothing wrong with AI.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with AI. But I will advise people to use AI to help them to brainstorm. right? Not to write the whole book, but at least just to brainstorm, to help you with guidance. You say, okay, now that I'm here, where do I go from here? And how do I get there? And just ask it for guidance and brainstorm. Engage with it, but don't rely on it to compile a book for you. Just use it to guide you, to help you, to assist you. Treat it as a friend standing next to you. Man, I'm here to help you. What do you need from me? How can I help you? You know, we shouldn't treat it as our ghostwriter. No.
I hear you. What's your take on the increase of people publishing books, self-published books, if you will? There's been a rise over the past 5 years, if you will. And we're seeing more people churning out books. We've seen scandals about books on social media. You know, we've seen people dissatisfied or people extremely satisfied with self-published books. What's your take on that?
For me, since people now exposed to this self-publishing, is that now we long for the rawness, we long for the originality. Now people no longer write, like you said. Now they use AI to write their books. They no longer write from their experiences, and another thing is that the quality as well is questionable. Right? It's questionable. Just because people can access tools, just because people can access the publishing window, they feel like they can publish a book, and they can become publishers, they can become authors, they can become, just because they have access. So they feel they're entitled to that. But the truth of the matter is the quality as well. We see a lot of self-published books out there, and the standard is very low. The standard is very low because many of them are trying to cut the costs. They want to do everything by themselves. They want to edit the book themselves. They want to design the book themselves. They want to format the book themselves. They want to market the book themselves. Everything is all on them.
Kabelo, having a team feels like a privilege. You, to an extent, pointed out the fact that people want to do everything, right? They want to edit, they want to market, they want to create covers, they want to do the graphic of the book, the book cover and. But sometimes you don't have access to that. We all know the constraints that can be found in the mainstream publishing sphere. How would you then best advise them to tackle that?
With limited access.
Yes.
Okay. There's always someone who is ready to help. There's always someone. And I remember during my time when I was starting my career, because at that time I was still young. I didn't have finance, and I was not exposed as much. But what I did is I worked with people around me. I used to work with my teachers. I used to work with my lecturers, and I told them, "This is how far I've got. Can you please confirm for me? Can you please check for me, verify for me if I'm on the right path? Okay, what then do I need to do?" And by so doing, I had to develop some skills as well. I had to develop a skill on how to create a cover, for instance, because I think lack of access creates opportunities for you. But if you condemn yourself because of what you don't have, and you focus on what you don't have, you're definitely not going to have anything, and you're not going to learn anything from that. So my advice is, if you have limited access, what you can do is make sure you gain something from that. Make sure that you use that as a motivation. Learn something, because if we have access to anything, we are bound to limit our skills. We are bound to limit our growth as well. Why do I need to grow if I can access it? Why do I need to develop myself if I know so and so can do it for me? So there's no need for me to develop myself. I think people should use that opportunity to develop themselves, and after developing themselves, they will attract more people who will connect them with other people who can develop them more.
That is a fair take. Speaking about people willing to help, let's talk about CAM Publishers. How is CAM Publishers willing to help?
Yes. CAM Publishers, when it started, it was for this purpose, to provide access, right? To provide access to professional editing, to provide access to professional graphic design, to professional work, right? Because what I learned, I believe it was for the benefit of those who want to work with us. I had to knock on doors so that people who are coming to us, they can come in. I had to open certain gates so that people can have access to a free parking lot. So with us, we have a team of professionals who specialize in editing, who specialize in graphic work, who specialize in formatting, who specialize in marketing. So yes, we have that access. That's where CAM Publishers come in, providing access.
And Kabelo, for those who are looking to be assisted by CAM Publishers, where do they get a hold of you?
Okay, on Facebook it's CAM Publishers, Instagram at CAM Publishers. Our Gmail is campublishers@gmail.com, and TikTok CAM Publishers, Twitter at CAM Publishers, CAM Publishers on all our social media handles.
Oh, that's beautiful. Kabelo, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We absolutely appreciate this conversation. We appreciate the work that you do, assisting those who believe that they have a story to tell, really echoing out their sentiments and making sure that the world hears them in full view. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
That is the voice of award-winning author, educator, and founder of CAM Publishers, joining us, talking to us about the walk, the journey of self-publishing and how it's not really about yourself. Self-publishing doesn't mean you do everything. It means that you might not partner with the mainstream individuals that help you get books out, right? You might find a publishing company such as CAM Publishers to assist you. And so reconsider that thought. If you were thinking, Sheila, I'm going to do this from start to finish, maybe pause on that thought. Because up next, we speak to somebody who's recently received help and has managed to put out an amazing book. You want to hear this conversation. Don't go anywhere.
Channel Africa, where every moment is an African celebration. Feel the energy, feel the connection. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Heartlines, 10 p.m. to midnight, Central African Time, with Sheila Ndikumana.
It is 20 minutes to midnight in Central African time. Sanel alongside Msaki. This one is titled Ubomi Abumanga. Bringing us to this very point, if you've just joined us, welcome to it. This is Heartlines. Sheila Ndikumana keeping you company, and I'm with you for the next 20 minutes, unfortunately. But Mara's Touch does take over with the Afro Republic, and trust you me, you do not want to touch that dial. I told you that I'll be promising you a treat. And the reason I call it a treat is perhaps you heard this conversation and you said, yeah, Sheila, but for an example, give me an example to work with. You know, give me something tangible. Okay, I'm going to do that in just a second. Now, some books aren't just a read. They are felt. They hold a mirror to the moments that shaped us, the shifts we ignored, the silent lessons that sculpted our resilience. A Decade in My Lifetime is one such work, a rich, layered reflection on personal growth against a backdrop of global and national turning points, driven by a young woman who refused to be boxed in by her age or her industry. This book takes us from one dance floors in the early 2000s in South Africa to the quiet battles of mental health and identity, blending memoir, pop culture, politics, and psychology into a narrative that both is personal and is profoundly collective. She joins us in studio, a radio and television creative, a psychology graduate, and now a self-published author. Her name is Pebetsi Nolo Matlaila. Joining us in studio, ma'am, did I do you justice?
You did so much justice. I cannot believe. Having been with you for the whole week now, right? And we chat casually. Yeah. So now when you're mentioning all those, I'm like, are you talking about me? Are you talking about me?
Listen, I think when it hit home is when I went onto your Instagram page and I saw 20 hashtags: Young Minds, Utopia, Psychology Graduate, Teacher, Radio, Producer, Presenter, Author, Voiceover, Mental Health Advocate. Listen, the list goes on. Yeah. But I don't want to talk about that.
I have a new title, by the way, which you gave to me.
Come on.
A broadcast practitioner. I love it. I love it. I'm taking it with me.
Nolo is this and so much more. She's also the host of the African Top Charters. That is every Saturday between 12 and 2.
Yes.
And she keeps us abreast with the hottest music in the African continent through, is it a countdown style?
No, not really. I don't want it to be a countdown style because it's so possible that we could have a song that was released 2 years ago, but it's still a dance floor hit, you know. So I just let you know which is the hottest song in the 5 regions across the African continent.
Ma'am, you recently put out your first book?
Yeah. Okay, why are you saying first? Are you expecting a second one?
Come on, why not?
Not yet. It was so much work. I need a break.
That's exactly what I want to tackle. That's exactly what I want to tackle because I think when we speak about self-publishing, and I've seen the scrutiny that we pay those who claim that they're self-published. We scrutinize the book, we drag the book. If there's one typo, we are taking them through the dust and. But this is, it's never a one-man job. It's always a collective effort, isn't it?
Very much so. And not to be a critic, but if your book is being dragged, it means you did not follow the right processes. You did not go through it. You rushed the process. You took shortcuts. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, but if you're experiencing that, it's probably because you did not, go through the right channels.
Ma'am, okay.
You didn't cook right.
Oh, as the young ones would say, you did not cook right.
Yeah.
You can hear what age is in the building. When we talk like that, you did not cook. You know what age is in the building. Yeah. Anyway, walk us through your process. And I suppose not the mechanical piecing of your book, but perhaps the emotional one. Right. I mean, we were talking off air and you said you had to rewrite the book three times.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Yeah. I don't even know how I didn't give up. I always give credit to my oldest daughter because every time I'm like, I don't think I'm meant to do this. It's like, Mom, you can do it, Mom. You can do it. So I thought, if I give up, she's going to give up on her dreams, So now I was obligated to finish it for her sake.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, what people don't know is when I started writing the book, Sheila, I was actually writing to heal. Yeah, I was writing to heal. I could no longer afford a therapist at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember the last a session I had with my therapist he said, start writing, because you seem to be honest in your writing. When I couldn't speak to him, he advised me to write him a letter. And he found me to be more honest in writing the letter than speaking to him, because we all tend to tell people what they want to hear, right? So, so I started writing to heal. I found myself having over 400 pages on an A4 book, just writing. And one day I got the idea that I can turn this into a book. But where do I start? Right? Then I started compartmentalizing the different topics.
Yeah.
You know, okay, here I was hurting because of a breakup. Where does that fall in? Here I was experiencing mental illness issues that I wasn't aware of. Here I was rehashing childhood traumas. Here I was living my Jubilee days, my debut into radio, my debut into TV. How did I feel then? You know, so I found myself having chapters, right? And then I thought, okay, this can be a book now.
Sure.
But I thought, okay, I'm just going to put these chapters down and put in these letters, and it's a book.
Come on. Lo and behold.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I realized I have quite a lot of work to still do. And then started reaching out to publishers. I already knew a few friends of mine that were self-publishers, you know, acquaintances. And so I reached out to one particular one. I'm like, hey, say, Vic, so what do I do here? And he said, well, you now have to read it and ask yourself, does it read like a book? You need to specify, are you doing an autobiography? Are you doing a memoir? Are you doing a self-help book? I'm like, my goodness. So I entered the publishing industry with no clue whatsoever. But if anybody has been following my story, that's how I entered into literally every industry, with no clue whatsoever. And I learned along the way. I never turned anything down, you know. So that's how I got in, and it was such a learning experience, so much so that today now I'm advising people how to go about putting a book together. And I just want to quickly let you know, the reason I had to write it 3 times was that's what my the editor advised me to do.
Yes.
Firstly. Secondly, the reason I had to write the book for the 3rd time was because I personally had to remove the anger in certain chapters. I had to remove the real names because you don't want to be sued. So you had to use pseudonyms, right? And then I also had to now ask myself, what mission do I want to accomplish with this book? Do I want a person to close the last page and say, what a lovely read? Or do I want a person to close the last page and say, yo, girl, you know? Or do I want them to close the book and say, I'm going to start up that one thing that I've been putting to bed for years. And I also had to ask myself, what do I want to be identified as? It's like in the music world, what genre do you want to fall under? So for me, in the book space, publishing space, I wanted to fall under your memoirs and eventually an autobiography. One of my favorite authors of all time, the first book I ever owned actually, is Maya Angelou. I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
Describe a decade in my lifetime in 3 words.
It's a
story of redemption.
Yeah.
Sure.
In 3 words, I always say it's a story of redemption.
And if you were to give, I love tips.
Yeah.
3 top tips for somebody who has penned down their book. Listen, they probably didn't compartmentalize just as yet.
Yeah.
They just wrote, and they found themselves with a great extent of just page on cover to cover of, because you know that you only have 120 pages in certain journals, and then another one has 60 pages, so now you're getting over into the other one. They found themselves, they have a stack of books that they've written their heart out into, and they want to know, what do I do next? 3 top tips.
What you do next is actually seek a mentor.
Okay.
Seek a mentor, find a person who's already published books, and also they will then direct you on where to go. What's the first step to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, ask yourself, what's your aim? What's your aim? Are you just telling Umgozi? Are you just telling us, some
Yes,
tabloid
ma'am.
news,
Yeah.
or what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
That's tip number 2. And then tip number 3, I would say the best thing to do is really just look at your book and ask yourself, would I want my great grandchildren to read this and be proud of who their grandmother or grandfather was?
I see a lot of people turning back their books now. But I also know that if I want to write a book, I'm going to come to Nolo. She said, find someone who has done it.
Yes.
I have found you. Lastly, 3 challenges that one might not be prepared for. Right? These are things you did not see coming, but you had encountered throughout the process.
Yeah. I did not see the costs of a real editor. You cannot skip that stage.
Okay.
And I remember the day I decided to cough up the money to pay an editor. The editor said to me, finally, you came to your senses. Because I was using Friends. Like, please proofread for me. Please proofread for me. And it's like, Friends will help you, my darling. But, they won't really be professional about it because they're not getting paid. But professional editors have a team that they work with. Okay. And then the other challenge I found was how to sell the book. That you actually have to invest in a marketing team, a sales team.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm currently dealing with at the moment, that it's part of investing in this book. You're not done once you say, I've released the book. There's still work to be done after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are 2. One last challenge.
One last challenge is to give your family members and those close to your loved ones heads up to not get heart attacks when they read certain things that they've never heard coming from your lips if you're writing a memoir.
You've prepared us all.
Yes.
For the book that lies ahead. Nolo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the amazing production, but also for this body of work. I can't wait to read it. A decade in my lifetime. I feel like I will walk out more resilient, if anything.
Yeah, you will not finish it in a day. I thought it's one of those reads, but no. You read a chapter, you put it down, you go do some work, and you come back.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially things that are emotive and emotionally triggered. No, ma'am, you do not do that to yourself. You give yourself a break because there are things like radio that need to be done.
Yes. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for joining us. The
All right.
voice of our production head for this week, that is Nolo, but also the author of A Decade in My Lifetime. From Nolo all the way through to the host that comes up next, that is Morris Touch on the Afro Republic. He's going to be keeping us abreast with what to expect in the show that lies ahead. That is between 12 and midnight in Central African time. Morris, how are you?
A decade in my life or in my time.
In my lifetime.
My lifetime. That sounds very interesting. I'm actually thinking, I think I need to read that.
Absolutely. You see, Boris, yes. Please, she's part of the family. We need to read and sit down and discuss for 10 marks the things that Nola wouldn't say to us in our face. Because that's the last thing she said. She said, prepare the people around you, that there are going to be things that you'll find in the book that have never left her mouth. And so, Morris, as you read and you are staggered and you're like, oh my, what? Yes, be prepared. I'm telling you now.
I could have missed something. Is the book available as a hard copy?
Yes.
I'm old school like that.
Yes, it is.
Me too, I'm old school.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I would love that. Thank you very much, Nono. Hi, Sheila.
Hello, Morris. What can we expect on the show this morning?
I'm tempted to ask you something, but no, it's okay. It's okay. Let me not get there. Come ground, Morris. I'm grounded.
Yes.
The show is fantastic, as always. I'm bringing you the very best of Africa from one point of the continent to another. We've got a very strong musical understanding. Hence, whatever we get to do, we try and bring you the very best. And what we're going to be discussing today as we play our music, as we showcase our music, we just want to find out have the current generation learned something from those that have come before us, especially in the music space? I'm talking of things like investments. Are they well educated to understand that you can wake up tomorrow not being the person that you were, where you were number one and you're trending and you're selling platinum, and today you're selling nothing and you're nothing? Do you have something to fall back on? You know, there is nothing as bad as saying, I used to be this big person and I used to be this amazing person, but financially and any other way, you have nothing to show for it. So that's what we're going to be looking at.
Sure. Morris, that sounds like a rather intricate one. Listen, from one intricate story to the other, I think you are keeping the trend of the conversations that have been flowing on the station. We cannot wait to hear that, Morris. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The voice of Morris Touch, broadcasting live from our Bulawayo studios. That is the Afro Republic that comes up next between midnight and 3 a.m. in Central African time. From the team and I, it has been a pleasure. It has been a blessing. I hope that we get to do this again tomorrow on a musical Friday. That will be between 10 and midnight. Heartlines with Sheila Ndikumana. For now, please do take care of yourselves. Good night.
For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future.
up on my victory lap. Hands up on my victory lap.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet.